I picked up an unusual pair of scissors at a thrift store. Each handle has extra finger rings and the blades are long and narrow. What were these made for? These are dual control training scissors. The extra finger rings let two people use the same pair at the same time. The learner uses the front rings while a teacher, parent, or therapist uses the rear rings to guide the motion and keep the blade steady. The long, narrow blades give a clear view of the cut line, and the all-metal build keeps the tool rigid so the helper can control opening and closing. They're used in classrooms and therapy settings to teach scissor skills, support children who are still developing hand strength and coordination, and help adults in rehabilitation relearn a proper cutting motion. The design is ambidextrous, so it works for both right and left-handed users, and the helper can gradually back off as the learner takes over. I keep seeing these around my city. They flash every time an ambulance goes by. Does anyone know what they are? What you saw is an optical traffic signal preemption detector. It monitors the intersection for a coded infrared strobe from authorized emergency vehicles. When it detects that signal, the controller overrides the normal cycle, turns conflicting directions red, and gives the emergency vehicle a green so it can pass safely. The small indicator on the unit flashes to confirm the request and show that preemption is active. I received a small ceramic cup with a matching cone-shaped piece that sits on top. The tip of the cone is unglazed. Does anyone know what it is? What you have is a two-piece sake cup set in the Japanese studio pottery style. The small base is a spouted stand called a katakuchi, and the conical piece is the drinking cup that nests on top when it's not in use. Small sake cups are called ochoko, while slightly larger artisan cups are known as guinomi. They became widely used during Japan's Edo period, roughly the 17th through 19th centuries, alongside the growth of sake brewing and tavern culture. The pointed tip of the cone is intentionally left unglazed. Potters leave the foot bare so the piece won't fuse to the kiln shelf, and so the cup sits securely when it rests in the stand. I found this hammer-shaped tool with a wooden handle and an iron head. One side is flat and the other has a short row of teeth. It weighs about 1 to 2 pounds and has no markings. What was this used for? What you found is a scutch hammer used by bricklayers and masons. One face is flat for striking, and the toothed end is a holder for a replaceable scutch comb. To use it, press a comb of the right width, typically 1 inch or 1.5 inches, into the slot and work with short, light taps. It rakes old mortar from joints, trims the edge of a fired brick, and chases a shallow groove in plaster. Scutching tools became a mainstay of British and Irish building by the late 19th and early 20th centuries as harder bricks and cement mortars came into regular use. The advantage was simple serviceability. Instead of grinding an entire head, the tradesman swapped a small cutter and went straight back to work. I found this small hand tool with a bulb-shaped wooden handle. One side has a folding curved blade, and the other has a tapered metal spike. What is this used for? What you found is a cork borer sharpener, the lab tool that keeps the hollow tubes used to punch holes in cork or rubber stoppers cutting clean. The bulb handle gives a steady grip, the tapered steel mandrel sets the size and guides the tube, and the small folding blade does the sharpening. Slide the borer to the right diameter, rotate it lightly while drawing the blade along the bevel, and you'll bring the edge back to a crisp, round circle. The slot at the tip clears shavings and helps you hold the angle. I picked up this matching pair of small metal pieces at a consignment shop. Each one has an S-shaped hook on top and a little rectangular insert that looks like stone. What are these used for? This matching pair is agate bearings from a precision beam balance. The little stone is a polished agate block set into a metal carrier, and the S-shaped hook shows how each bearing hung inside the balance pillar as a replaceable end support. In an equal arm or analytical balance, the beam pivots on razor-sharp knife edges, and those edges sit on agate. This setup provides a low-friction surface, ensuring highly accurate and repeatable measurements. Balances built with agate bearings were the standard for high-grade instruments from the late 19th century into the mid-20th. British and German makers produced them for laboratories, pharmacies, and jewelers' benches, where small quantities had to be weighed with confidence. I found this metal item that clamps to a workbench. It's roughly 8 to 12 inches tall and looks like some kind of drill, except the head has two serrated blades instead of a bit. What is this used for? What you found is a bench-mounted, hand-cranked coconut scraper that clamps to the edge of a table for stability. Turn the wooden handle and the serrated, flower-shaped head begins to spin. Hold a halved coconut in both hands and press the white flesh against the teeth. In a few turns, it shaves out fine flakes for curries, sambles, desserts, or for pressing into coconut milk. Household coconut graters have a long history across South and Southeast Asia. Early home versions were simple stools or benches with a fixed toothed blade at one end, and by the early 20th century, that form is recorded in Ceylon and in southern India. I found this among my grandmother's things. It has two clips and the center section rotates. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a fringe twister, in your case, a double model that twists two strands at once. It's used to finish the loose fringe on scarves, shawls, blankets, rugs, and other woven pieces, so the ends become neat, balanced cords instead of unraveling threads. The tool works on the same principle as rope making. You twist separate bundles, then ply them together in the opposite direction to lock the cord. Twisted fringe has been part of textiles for centuries, but hand tools like this became common with the growth of home weaving and fiber arts kits in the later 20th century. I was remodeling my bathroom when I opened up a drywall wall and found a hand-drawn X marks the spot map. It led me to the attic, where at a marked spot under the insulation, I uncovered a small treasure chest. Inside was this item. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a past master's jewel from a Masonic lodge, a presentation badge given to the outgoing master. In this case, it was presented to Edwin Collimore at the end of his term in 1868. The inscription AL5868 stands for Anno Lucis, Year of Light. In Masonic dating, you add 4,000 to the Gregorian year, so 5,868 equals 1868. Different lodges choose different gifts for a departing master. Some present jewels like this, some give aprons or gavels, and some give nothing at all. I found a contraption about 4 feet long with wooden rails and metal gearing. A hand crank turns every cog in sequence, and the only marking reads, "Patented August 20th, 1901. What was this used for? What you found is a wire fence machine, the same design patented on August 20th, 1901 by John Barber. The marking on your piece matches that date, and the layout, wooden rails with a train of sprocket wheels, linked by chain and driven by a hand crank, matches Barber's design. To use it, the frame is set across the fence line. Wires are threaded through openings in the hubs of the sprockets and secured to a tension post. Then the hand crank turns all the wheels together, twisting the strands evenly along the run. As United States farms expanded in the late 19th century, wire fencing became the practical way to control livestock and protect crops. After the 1870s, barbed wire spread across the plains, and specialized tools like this followed to speed construction and improve quality. I found this pyramid-shaped object at an old cell phone tower site. Inside the clear top, there seems to be a coil wrapped around a crystal. Does anyone know what this is used for? What you found is an orgonite pyramid, a handmade resin and metal sculpture inspired by Wilhelm Reich's mid-20th century idea of orgone energy. The dark body is cast resin mixed with metal particles, while the clear tip holds a small quartz point wrapped in a copper coil. Makers claim this metal and resin matrix compresses the crystal and transforms energy. People place these on desks or windowsills for meditation, use them as decor, or set them near electronics and cell towers with the claim that they clean or neutralize electromagnetic fields. I was cleaning out my grandmother's house and came across this unusual tool. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a flour dusting wand. It's a handheld kitchen tool with a spring coil basket and a wire handle. You squeeze to open the coil, dip it into flour, release to trap a small amount, then squeeze again over dough or a pan to sprinkle a light, controlled dusting. This keeps dough from sticking while you roll or shape it. It can also be used for powdered sugar, cocoa, or fine spices. The style in your photos, a double cone coil mounted on a wire yoke, matches the old-fashioned type still sold today. Devices for sifting and dusting flour became popular in the mid-19th century. One early American patent for a hand sifter was issued to John Earnshaw in 1865. His design combined a scoop with a mesh sieve and internal paddles turned by a crank. I found this old metal tool in a box of utensils. It's about 6 inches long with a narrow two-pronged grabber on one end and a small flat paddle on the other. There aren't any markings on it. Does anyone know what this was used for? These are antique tweezers with a sterling silver handle from the early 1900s. The working end is the springy two-prong tip, and the long, slim body gives a steady grip for small, precise picks, pulling a splinter or tidying a loose thread. Pieces like this were sold as part of vanity and manicure sets, where a silver handle dressed up everyday grooming tools. In the last video, I asked you to identify this brass cylinder with a threaded cap, numbers from 1 to 12, and a rotating wheel. This item is a needle case used for holding sewing needles. To select the right needle, you turn the dial, and an opening aligns with the number, allowing you to take out the needle stored in that slot. I really appreciate everyone who shared their guesses in the comments. It helps the video reach more people and allows the channel to grow. Now I want to invite you to identify another unusual object. This wire object has a wooden handle and is shaped like a rooster with a heart in the middle. What do you think it was used for? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you found it interesting. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and lets more people discover the channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.